Here we go. And then I could just introduce you as Brian Richards, the founder of SaunaSpace, right? You're good with that?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, perfect.
That's me.
In 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. Today with me, I have Brian Richards. And Brian is the founder of SaunaSpace. I built my own therapy room. Well, I didn't build it myself, but we built a therapy room over 5 years ago. I'm a big fan of sauna. I think people have a ton of questions as it relates to different light spectrums, red light therapy, near infrared, far infrared. And I heard Brian speak. He is so eloquent in how he explains everything.
Mhm.
So I actually asked him to come to my podcast and break it down for us. So with that, welcome, Brian. Thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sandy. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and I'm happy you're here too. And of course, with every guest that I bring on, I always like to know what got you into this. Why are you such an enthusiast as it relates to sauna?
Well, it comes from a personal experience. I had my own health issues and I just wanted to look and feel better like everybody else. And I found this technology to be transformative to my health. And then it led to the inspiration, the formation of the company. And that was 10 or 12 years ago. So I was dealing with some adrenal fatigue and insomnia and mind racing. I was low energy, I was lethargic. I had this acne on my torso, kind of like where my kidneys are on my back as an adult at the end of my college career. And I was not pleased with these things, but it didn't seem like there was anything wrong per se. But that's what I thought it was just adrenal fatigue. I was just too stressed out and burning the candle at both ends for a long time. I didn't want to take any prescription drugs. I got recommended to take Accutane, which I didn't want to take. That's a now been taken off the market. That's an acne drug. That's quite toxic. And so I basically looked for a better solution that would address the root cause. And sauna kept coming up in the published literature, in my research online, and what am I going to do for myself? And then also, it has this ancestral wisdom and component as well, because every human culture has a sauna tradition of some kind. So I've been doing this for a long time. The modern research indicates it's extremely beneficial for your health. It reduces your risk of dying of all things. It's sort of a broad spectrum kind of healing everything, re-optimizing, purifying everything. And then at the end of my research, I found this concept that I do that SaunaSpace does, and it's the electric incandescent light bath. And it was actually invented by Dr. John Harvey Kellogg in 1891. And this was just after incandescent light bulbs were invented. So most people are more familiar with the Finnish saunas and the far infrared saunas in terms of modern electrically powered saunas. But the original electrically powered sauna was the electric light bath using incandescent bulbs. This is the oldest electrically powered sauna, but of course not as well known. So I found a modern doctor's rendition of this electric light bath, and I built my own. And my insomnia was just gone in like one or two sauna sessions before bed. And so that kind of led me to use it for 6 months with vigor, and everything else got better. And the things I didn't know, in the beginning, that I had brain fog. It was what I realized afterwards, that wow, I'm much more clear-headed. My energy levels are higher. My patience and my mood, these sort of qualitative cognitive functions were much better, even though I wasn't, in the ditch before. I was relatively happy-go-lucky person, and but when the car's dirty, you throw more mud on it and you don't really see it. But once you really clean up and optimize, you notice these smaller, more subtle things. So I was just amazed by this, and yeah, that's the story. I started building a few for friends and family and others, and then I eventually got an endorsement and got my own business loan, a small business loan, and that was 10 years ago. And now I have a factory and almost 40 employees and a retail store now. And we're kind of we're a force to be reckoned with in the sauna world. We're stacking light therapy on top of sauna therapy and offering a pretty unique product design that's EMF mitigated and portable and just kind of more accessible and more practical for the average homeowner, or not even the homeowner, but an average person to have a sauna at home. So that was kind of been my obsession. I'm just trying to make one thing right, one thing perfect. I'm pouring my whole heart and soul and mind into it for many years now, and that's what we sell today. Of course, we have our portable therapy lights as well, which are the kind of their own amazing thing that it's used separately. But it started out with my own personal need, and then oh, really, Sandy, in the beginning, it was kind of cool. I was making these, and it was fun. But what really kind of put me into it deeply was when I got a call from one of the early customers, an early adopter customer who called me and was crying, and she was she just started expressing all this gratitude for the product, and it was really pretty bricolage back then, kind of uglier and more simplistic as a product. But she called me and she said she was so thankful that she got her life back and she got her job back because of this product that I made and shipped out to her, and like totally changed her life. And I was like, wow, I can, this is some really powerful stuff, the sauna stuff, but making it really accessible and easy to use. And that was just the beginning of now like probably tens of thousands of customers. And there I have many stories like that where you can read them on our website on sauna.space. There none of our customer reviews are like short, it shipped on time and arrived as expected. All of them are these life stories that are life-changing stories about how people transform their health. It's not the only therapeutic out there, it's not the only two out there, but it certainly is one of the most powerful, maybe the most powerful, the sauna, I would say. And then this light therapy aspect, this idea that we eat light and we require light, a certain type of light as a nutrient every day. And so to combine those two together for a synergy between the two and to make that a discipline that we have in our life three times a week is one of the most powerful things you can do, probably the most, because it's so safe. It's
Hmm.
so it's so high benefit and low risk, and anybody can do it and everybody benefits from it, and it's not specific to any organ type or tissue type. It has a purifying and a reoptimizing effect on all tissue types. So people come and they always are like, well, I have this problem, is it going to help me personally? And I completely understand it. I was the same way. Everybody wants a solution to their own problems, and it appears that sauna is a solution for all things and all problems. Certainly not the only thing out there, but yeah, as one powerful tool and one kind of 20-minute thing you could do 2 or 3 times a week to have the most impact on your health in a very safe way, and to do it without needing to go to the doctor or go to the spa or whatever is really the game changer.
So let's break down some of the science, Brian, because I know I've read a lot of these studies too about, all cause mortality, reducing all cause mortality. I mean, a sauna, maybe the first way we could break it down is there's, like you said, two components. There's the light side and then there's the heat side. And
Mm-hmm.
I know your product does both, right? But there's a lot that kind of split up. So let's define, the light. There's near, mid, far. Can we kind of break down what somebody can look for and what the benefits are of each?
Yeah, it's important to understand that there's light therapy, has many different names, and then there's heat therapy, which is also
Yeah.
called sauna therapy or hyperthermic therapy. And the research and the benefits are overlapping, but definitely the research is separate, and the biological systems in the body are more or less separate, although throughout the cells, just like the light therapy. So it's important to talk about each individually.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you can get into the weeds of light and electromagnetism and get lost in it. I think it's important to start out with the macro of light, which is the sun and our ancestral environment, still even today, our environment outdoors, because that's what we've evolved to be under. That's what we're programmed to be in, is this outdoor environment. So the sun is an incandescent light source, just like the incandescent lamp, just like the fire and the candle. It's a way that light is produced in nature. It's natural light. It's analog light. So it's broad spectrum emitted light that's not flickering or pulsing. And it has a particular shape and form of spectrum. So when you heat a material hot up in nature, it emits light naturally, just like heating an iron rod and it glows red. That's incandescence. So when you heat up a material in nature hot enough, it emits light naturally according to some physics theorems, and we can predict this. And so the sun is like 7,000 degrees, it's very hot, and it emits a bell curve spectrum of light that is mostly visible light and near infrared light. And then it has a long tail in the infrared. So it has some mid and far infrared as well that it emits. But if we look at the sun spectrum, 41% of it, or 43% of it, is near infrared. It's a lot higher than the red component. It's a lot higher than the ultraviolet or the blue component. The biggest component is near infrared. And then it's important to understand that from another perspective, which is when you stand outside under the sun and you're predominantly naked, in terms of photons per second experience, so in terms of the power you absorb from the sun, it's 70% near infrared. And that's because near infrared uniquely penetrates very deeply into the body. Near
Right.
infrared light is the only wavelength band that penetrates bone tissue. So if we're standing in front of the sun, all these wavelengths are hitting our face at the same time, but only the near infrared ones penetrate deeply. So in terms of what's being absorbed, the vast majority of our experience of the power of the sun is near infrared, over 70%. And so then you look at that, and then you look at, now let's look at a little more microscopically. Okay, 70% of the sun that we absorb is near infrared. What does near infrared light do?
Yeah.
So near infrared light does what red light does as well. It does what's called photobiomodulation. So our mitochondria, which we have mitochondria in every cell of the body, they're little power plants in the cells. They're doing much more than that. If we shine near infrared or red light on them, we activate healing systems. And there's a lot of different things going on, but essentially there's an enzyme in the mitochondria called the cytochrome, the light cell, that absorbs these wavelengths of light, only red and near infrared, and it activates energy production, like increased ATP, release of nitric oxide out of the cell, and reactive oxygen species production. All these things interact and produce healing effects like anti-inflammation, growth factor production in the cell, anti-aging effects because you're correcting the gene transcription factors. There's immune modulation effects, and these are all like kind of the cellular effects. And then what you see when you shine near infrared light on a group of cells, like on a tissue or an organ, you get accelerated wound and muscle healing, inflammation reduction, correction of immune structure and immune systems, sort of like reoptimization of the cell, really healing and reoptimization of the cell. And you can do that again in every cell of the body. And what's also interesting is what I said initially in terms of tissue penetration. There's what's called an optical window of human tissue, of animal tissue, really. Hemoglobin and melanin in our skin and hemoglobin in our blood, which is everywhere in our body, absorbs high energy light like ultraviolet and blue light. And then water begins to absorb light in the middle of near infrared at like 980 nanometers. So in between that, there's like basically 600 to 1200 nanometers, red light, and near infrared light is the only light that goes into the body to any depth. And within that, really only near infrared at like 980 or 950 nanometers, or excuse me, like 850 nanometers or so goes in deep. So 70% of the sun that we absorb is near infrared. and near infrared is the only wavelength that penetrates deeply. And near infrared is part of this unique wavelength band that stimulates mitochondrial response and healing in the body. It also does what's called cellular melatonin production. So melatonin is the number one antioxidant in the body. It turns out that 94% of the body's melatonin is cellular. It's cellularly produced. It's not being released by the pineal gland. It's right there where the oxidative stress is occurring with mitochondrial production, or with energy production in the mitochondria. And it's the near infrared light produces cellular melatonin. So basically, when we're in front of the sun, naked, ancestrally, we're healing our body by nourishing it with near infrared light. And we're also refilling our antioxidant reserves. That's basically what's going on. And it's all going on with near infrared light. And red light is also doing the same thing, but it just doesn't go in deep into the body. So what we've realized as humans is we can create our own near infrared light. And originally this was the incandescent light. And now you see also newer, you see LED based products and laser based products that are recreating this stimulus of near infrared light that we ancestrally got from the sun. But the original form of that is definitely incandescent light. And so the incandescent lamp and what we do at SaunaSpace, the electric light bath, is using near infrared light to both produce a light therapy effect, and also heat the tissue at the same time, which leads to a little bit of confusion. People think, oh, it's light therapy, there's no heat, or, oh, it's a sauna, it's heat therapy, there's no light. Actually, it's one light source. It's the incandescent bulb that's mostly near infrared light, although there's definitely some mid and far infrared coming off these incandescent bulbs. And we're both stimulating mitochondrial response. We're doing light therapy and heat therapy at the same time. It just depends on what the near infrared light hits. If it hits the mitochondria, it does light therapy. If it hits a water molecule and gets absorbed, it's heating the tissue. And you do that in the whole body, you get a hyperthermic effect in the whole body. It's the same as doing a sauna using hot air, or using far infrared wavelengths, or even being in a hot tub. These are all different forms of heating the body.
Okay, so would you say that using these incandescent light bulbs, is that almost mimicking as close as you can with what the sun actually does? Because here's the thing, we so many people are wearing sunscreen. They're not getting the benefits of the sun. They're not getting, because the sun will not penetrate the skin that is covered with sunblock, right? So what your product is actually doing, it's almost like mimicking what the sun gives you. Would you safely say that?
Yeah, I would say that without the ultraviolet component. So
Right.
the sun does emit ultraviolet light, that it does have benefit. It's it causes vitamin D production, but it also is ionizing radiation. So it also damages our DNA. But when we're in front of the sun, we're getting a small amount of UV and we're getting a large amount of near infrared. So at the same time that we're getting some ultraviolet light that has some benefit that's dose dependent, but some damage that's occurring, the sun is activating these healing systems that are mitochondrially controlled with a larger dose of near infrared light. So with the incandescent bulb is just basically the healing complement of near infrared and red wavelengths and infrared wavelengths without the ultraviolet and without the blue. So it's all of the healing band of the sun, and the majority of band of the sun, which in terms of what you absorb is 70% near infrared, without the sort of killer blue and ultraviolet wavelengths. It's definitely mimicking that. It's not a replacement for the sun, but it's delivering all of the healing portion of the sun, as it
Okay.
were.
But not like vitamin D. You have to get that from natural sun or supplements, right? Like you don't actually get vitamin D production from incandescent lights, do you?
Not from these incandescent lights. No, there are some lights, like some halogen bulbs will emit in the ultraviolet spectrum. Basically, ultraviolet light is what promotes vitamin D production. So that's ionizing radiation that you don't see. It's a even higher energy than blue light, which is kind of the highest energy visible light. Blue light, though, is just next to ultraviolet light. It's very similar in its effect on the body. It's not quite damaging your DNA by ionizing it, but it also causes free radical production.
Mm,
So it's also called high energy visible light. That's why people wear blue blockers. And we have issues nowadays with basically artificial light being all blue based and us getting too much blue light uh, as a compared to how little near infrared light we get. You know, the original incandescent bulb that we used to produce light in our homes, electrically speaking, up until very recently, up until the last decade, had that healing component in it. It had some, even though a smaller amount, because it's a very low wattage. You know, a 60-watt home bulb is very low wattage. But since then, we've removed that infrared component and in the switch to LED and fluorescent technology. And so all of our home lighting is the vast majority of the wattage emitted is blue, as well as now we work in front of these screens like what I'm looking at you through right now. So our exposure, and we get less sun because we're live indoors all day long. So we don't get that near infrared component that was 70% of our light experience outdoors every day. And instead we've replaced it with a huge dosing of artificial blue light, which
yes.
has a lot of health issues that it's associated with.
And it's so hard, I actually, one of my big things is turn off all the lights at night. I want
Mm-hmm.
only low lights in my home. I do not want those, the LEDs that are above the head. So I'm trying to mimic the way things used to be in my home in the evening, because we all know about our circadian rhythms and our hormone production. It's all dependent on our circadian rhythm. We know this. So, but it's hard to find incandescent light bulbs anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so hard to find them even. Maybe at a rare Amazon shop you'd be able to find them, but in the store it's all LEDs. So
Yeah.
let's get into, because the thing that SaunaSpace is different is your full spectrum, pretty much, right? You would call yourself a full spectrum sauna?
Yeah, in the sense that it's incandescent light. It's a broad spectrum emission that has all of these wavelengths.
Right,
It's as compared to LEDs. An LED emits one wavelength that's like 5 or 10 nanometers wide. It's a spike of light. It's not a broad emission of multiple wavelengths simultaneously. It's not exactly completely full spectrum as the sun because it's not emitting ultraviolet or blue light
right,
like the
right,
sun, but it is that's why I use the word broad spectrum, but it's essentially a full spectrum light source as compared to LEDs and fluorescent bulbs, which have a very digital, like spiked emission that's not natural at all.
right. So, people who will go out to buy a sauna, let's say, I'm going to buy a sauna today. Usually they look at either sweat or light, right? But your product has both. And there are
Mhm.
benefits to both. I know you probably know Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's done so many studies herself on sauna and the benefits of sauna.
Mm.
So there are benefits for sweating, right? And then there are benefits for the light. Do you want to break that down? So I could tell you my
Yeah.
situation just about, when this is going way back, Brian, but I used to be a smoker way back. And I still remember having a heavy metals test done, and oh crap, like it was bad, really bad. And then I started to
Yeah.
sauna. And here's what's interesting. I remember doing the test before I started sauning and then after, and it's just amazing the difference with that detoxification process. And people are like, oh, whatever, detox. I'm like, damn, like it works, because I regularly do all sorts of testing just because that's what I do. And,
Mm.
maybe we could cover off the detoxification aspect.
Yeah, I would refer back to Dr. Rhonda Patrick's fairly latest work. I think it's like last year or year before. It was frequent sauna use as a life, it was something like sauna use as a lifestyle practice to extend health span. It was something like that, but it was
Yeah.
basically a summarizing article. She looked at all the latest research in sauna and sort of reviewed all the benefits of sauna. And what we said in the beginning is the simplest way to put it. It reduces your risk of dying of all things. In that study, a 20-year study they did in 2015, they looked at cardiovascular disease outcomes, and they followed 2,000 Finnish males for 20 years. So it was a very impressive long-term study. And the guys who did sauna 1 day a week had like 40 to 50% reduction in risk of heart attack and death. And what was interesting is the the guys who were doing sauna 3 days a week had an additional like 30 to 40, don't quote me on those numbers, but it was like 30 to 40% additionally reduced risk of development of heart disease. So sauna helps you live longer by reducing your risk of dying of all things. And the more you do sauna, the better. And then they continued to follow that same study group for another 5 years, and they looked at dementia outcomes, and they published that just like a year or two ago. And they found the same results. The more you do sauna, the more your risk of dementia is reduced. And that's like one of the only known natural therapeutics or really therapeutics that's been shown to do that. Dementia is a really widespread problem nowadays. And if you look at conventional medicine, there's not really, for Alzheimer's, for example, there's not really any curative solution that's been developed in terms of a pharmacological agent after like decades and decades of research and tons of money spent. There's still not anything that assists it with that. And apparently sauna does, both in a healing aspect and in a preventative aspect. So those are two big things. Like, I'm going to live longer and I'm going to reduce my risk of brain problems and dementia. Those are two powerful reasons to do sauna.
Yes.
Um, but then the question becomes like, well, what is a sauna session? And this is where I think we can bring clarity to folks who are like, which technology should I use to sauna, and
Yes.
what's effective and what's not really a sauna, what really is a sauna. So if you look at the research, it was very clear and very straightforward. There's two ways you can gauge, have I had a proper sauna session? And one is the average Finnish sauna session is sweating out 1 to 2 pounds of water. So you can weigh yourself before and after a session on a digital scale, and your weight loss is going to be equivalent to how much water you sweat out.
I'm always
So
so skinny after a sauna session. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just water weight loss, Sandy. Calm down. Sorry, go on. I had to interrupt you there.
no, it is interesting though. The sauna, that's kind of its own tangent. The sauna is equivalent to a 100 kilowatt workout. So it's a mild, strong workout that
Yeah.
does lead to passive weight loss benefit and fat mobilization benefit. That's kind of its own conversation. But like, just to understand sauna, you sweat out a pound of water and you raise core temperature degrees. You raise core temperature 3 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can measure that with a thermometer. So here are two ways you can gauge: did I have an effective sauna session? That's it. It's that simple. And then doing that 3 times a week is what we see clinically in these long-term studies and bringing these powerful health span extension benefits. So the outcome is easy to measure and easy to achieve. The next question becomes, what technology do I want to use to do that? The difference with our sauna using incandescent light, using near infrared light primarily to heat the body, is there's no preheating, and you start sweating in 10 or 15 minutes. And that core temperature raising of 3 degrees occurs within 20 minutes. And then you kind of stay in for another 5 minutes or so to achieve the vigorous sweat loss, and you're done. So in my type of sauna, using near infrared light to heat the body, there's no preparation. You just get in and then you're done in 25 minutes or so. And that's nice because that's the most efficient way to heat the body. And that's kind of where I come from a sauna perspective. You can get the same result technically in a finished sauna, in a far infrared sauna. You'll just have to wait longer. You
Yes.
may you may have to preheat. If you have a far infrared sauna, usually you preheat quite a while, and even in a finished sauna, you're using the air to heat you up primarily. So, and as well with the far infrared sauna, because the wavelengths don't go really deep in the body, so it's a conductive heating effect. Whereas with the incandescent lamp, it's called radiant heating. It's just like when you stand out in front of the sun and you feel warm inside.
Mm.
That's because the light from the sun from like millions of miles away is flying through the space and penetrating your body through a radiant heating effect and heating you much more efficiently than just hot air can heat you. So when we want to choose a sauna technology that leads to a pound of water loss and 3-degree temperature increase in the body, the most efficient way to do it, I think, is what we're doing for sure. But then it's like, okay, what about the light therapy? And that's where we can now talk about the light therapy for a second. The light therapy is essentially defined as using near infrared and red light to heal damaged and degenerate tissue and to reoptimize healthy tissue and healthy cells. So it's quite simply, that's what it does. It heals damaged cells and damaged tissue, and it reoptimizes function in cells and tissues that are not damaged. And so you can do that in the whole body, and that's why a lot of people now have light therapy systems, and the more common product is LED based, but our product does deliver therapeutic photobiomodulation wattage of the near infrared wavelengths, particularly the bulb I've invented, which it kind of has a filament that runs at a higher Kelvin, so it emits more near infrared, more light therapy than a regular heat lamp. But even the regular heat lamp emits a substantial amount. And so when you're in my type of sauna, in a SaunaSpace sauna, when you're heating the body up, you're also at the same time triggering this photobiomodulation response, this light therapy response, where we're heating the cells up for body purification and heat shock protein response, which doesn't just cell detox, it also reoptimizes protein function. The heat shock proteins fix like the functioning of the proteins in the body. They refold them and move them around and fix their function. So the sauna, just to step back, the sauna has a detoxing, purifying effect, but it also has a reoptimizing effect from the heat shock protein response. And then the light therapy has, as we discussed earlier in the conversation, this various healing and reoptimizing effects in the cells. And so then when you do the two of them together, instead of doing your light therapy first and then your sauna second, or vice versa, doing them together, you're getting the same sort of benefit from each technology, but unifying them and
Yes.
creating a unified stacked experience means, I think, the most powerfully is not just that you're getting the light therapy. The light therapy is supporting the sauna experience, which can be intense on the body. Getting rid of all those heavy metals and detoxing is very energy intensive. So we're supporting the body as much as we can by introducing this powerful form of light therapy alongside of it. The increased energy production that's occurring, the inflammation reduction, all these things. There's vasodilation, so improved blood flow, improved tissue oxygenation effects that occur from light therapy. And to combine that with the sauna therapy, also it's making both things work better, I'd say, and more effective. And
Yeah.
if you can do them together in our busy lifestyles, it's like, why not do it together?
I would agree with you 100% because back when we built our sauna room, our therapy room, I didn't know about SaunaSpace. This was 5 years ago. I know you've been around for longer than that, but I didn't know about you at that time. But you're 100% right, because my far infrared, so I have it split. And I think a lot of people see it as split. There's the light therapy over on this side, and then there's the heat therapy on this side, right? So that's how I built my little room. But like you said, I have to wait at least 30 minutes to heat up the far infrared. When I do the red
Mhm.
light therapy, I don't have that feeling of the nice, when you go out and you lie in the sun and you get that
Yeah.
feel good feeling when that sun just hits you and it feels good, like the sun's energy, I feel is very powerful. And that heat, when it touches your body, it feels good. I don't get that from my other red light therapy. And I don't get that from my far infrared either, because, like you said, I just walk into a hot room, right?
Hmm.
So it's very interesting the way that you've kind of managed to put it all together in one, where you get all the benefits in one, right?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the way you describe it is the way I like to describe it. If you walk into my sauna, or you sit in front of the one of our photon therapy lights, and you close your eyes and you imagine, where am I right now? It feels like you're under the sun, kind of at the
Yeah.
beach. It's that feeling, and that feeling is literally sitting in front of a direct current light source, a non-flickering light source that has a very strong near infrared component. And when we recreate that, yeah, it does feel like that. And that's a big difference of our sauna too. It's not just more effective, I'd say it also is more joyful. It really, you get inside and it feels amazing in there. It feels rejuvenating. It feels like it's energizing you. It feels good. And you get out and you feel like you feel better. You feel you know, it feels pleasant. So there are some saunas, particularly like the wet ones, actually, is the steam saunas, but people often find saunas to be like a little bit oppressive, maybe, or a little bit claustrophobic, because it's just the heat of the air, and
Yeah.
it doesn't, the near infrared light. We talked a lot about cellular effects, but if you talk about light therapy and near infrared light as it relates to nervous tissue, light therapy calms the nervous system. It makes you feel happy. It
Yes.
causes serotonin and dopamine release. It pushes the nervous system into rest and digest. And for neuropsychiatric problems that people have, like anxiety and nervousness and depression and other things, like near infrared light therapy has been shown to be quite effective for correcting mood. And so, yes, and so having that in the sauna is amazing.
Yes.
It makes it very zen, very, very inclined, to a meditative breath work type of experience. That is another thing that you should be doing in the sauna, even, since you're already there. But if you don't have that element, if you don't have the light therapy, it's conducive to doing meditation or doing breath work. But in our sauna, it absolutely is. And it has a grounding mat in it, and it's totally electromagnetically shielded. And one of our sauna upgrades has a silver based liner system that makes a grounded Faraday cage all the way around the person.
Oh,
That's our
wow.
Faraday sauna. So yeah, it's our more special one, wherein you get inside and there's no cell phone signal and Wi-Fi or EMF basically on your body. So we're with this, and with all the other things, we're trying to maximally recreate this perfect ancestral experience where there was no man-made electromagnetism. There was only a lot of the experience with the sun, and we had the grounding experience, being connected to the earth. And then this idea of passive sweating, which you don't always get when you're out in the sun, but this idea that our ancestors had, that if you want to purify the mind and the body and keep yourself really healthy, it's not so much the sweating by exercise, it's this passive sweating that leads to
Mhm.
much more profound detoxification and healing.
I have to say something about that. This is really interesting. You mentioned passive sweating. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I this is a little bit, off the rails here, but I find it so interesting when people talk about doing a heavy duty yoga session in hot yoga, because like I'm trained as a holistic nutritionist, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute, passive sweating is much more effective at detoxification than when you're actually exercising, right? Would you agree with that, Brian? For
Yeah, there's a lot. No,
detoxification.
I do agree with that, and it's good to clear up the confusion here by presenting some research. So
Yeah.
because there are some conflicting articles out there. There was like a National Geographic article that was saying that no, sauna doesn't detox you at all. Like it's no different than running on the treadmill. And
Oh no.
but in that article, when they were referring to the fact that sweating doesn't detox you very effectively, they were referring to sweat from a person who was on a treadmill. If you look at sauna sweat, like if you look at the there's these studies after 9/11 where they had 9/11 workers who were exposed to an incredible toxin load while they're in the recovery effort. They had them do the L. Ron Hubbard sauna protocol, which was like 2 saunas a day, or it was 1 sauna a day that was an hour and a half long sauna. It was in it. They were dosing them with niacin as well,
Okay.
and then they were measuring the petrochemical concentration in their blood, and they measured it, once a month over a 4 to 5 month period. And it's quite impressive the amount of like xylenes and toluenes and benzenes, all these like plastics and chemicals that were incinerated, when those towers fell and they were all in the air and exposing everybody to it. It's incredibly impressive how much toxicant concentration was in the sauna sweat. Absolutely. And when you compare it to actually to people who are in doing a cardio during like aerobic exercise, there's typically the toxin concentration is quite a bit lower. And so like what's going on? Well, I think what's going on is when you're exercising, you're in sympathetic dominance really powerfully, and you're using your energy for locomotion.
Yes.
All the blood's
Yes.
going to your heart and muscles and lungs, and you're trying to move. When you're in the sauna, there is some sympathetic effect for sure. You have increased heart rate, you have increased blood flow that's going on, but you're not moving. And so your body has all this extra energy. And so it knows, oh, now I can take this cellular energy and I can rest and digest and heal and repair and fix and reoptimize function. And then if we, of course, have the near infrared light in there as well, then, we even have even more like nutrients and stimuli with which to correct cellular function.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's kind of bogus. You definitely detox very powerfully when you sauna, when you sweat passively. And the more we look at that particular aspect of sauna, we see it seems that you can detox almost anything. Like mercury, for example. Excuse me. It used to be thought that you could only detox mercury via the stool, but now we know with more recent research that you can sweat out mercury, and you can sweat out pretty much all heavy metals. So you can actually sweat out petrochemicals and chemicals and microplastics and things like that. So you can really the body is designed to use three things to eliminate: the kidneys, the bowels, and the skin. And it's the skin is the one that we don't use that much, even though it's the body's largest organ.
Yeah.
And when those basic three elimination systems that are supposed to be eliminating junk from our body each day, when they're not doing enough work, we have to start relying on the immune system, because we get some kind of development of some infection, or some cold or flu or something happens, and then we create, we have immune response, we create antibodies eventually. But if our three primary elimination pathways, the skin being one of the most important, if they're doing their job, we don't get really disease development. But nowadays we're overworking our liver and our bowels and our kidneys, and we're not using our sweat to really efficiently rid the body of toxins, and our bodies get overwhelmed. And also nowadays we have really a toxic tidal wave of exposure to, due to modern industry, so many microplastics and so many heavy metals that we're mining from the earth and exposing ourselves to. So more than ever, we need to use our skin to purify our body constantly.
Yeah.
And yet we really aren't. So here we are nowadays. And the sauna is something that, again, we've had in every human culture and every tradition forever, in various different forms, but essentially the same concept. and our ancestors understood it was a very powerful tool. And nowadays it's like not a luxury. Nowadays it's really a necessity to thrive nowadays, is to detoxify. And certainly it appears that the most effective full spectrum, like full body way to detoxify is sweating in a sauna. And then we see this research that, yeah, actually you can live longer and, maybe reduce your risk of dying of all things if you just do the sauna thing.
So I just want to say, I love the way that you explain the whole sweating thing, because the other thing, even if you think about digestion, you can't digest your food if you're running away from a tiger. So if you're really stressed out, your body is designed to do certain things
Mm-hmm.
at certain times. So this is why I'm a massive believer in passive sweating and passive detoxification. And you explained it beautifully. Thank you, Brian. So what
Sure.
I would like to get into, because I see this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Someone says, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go and buy a sauna from Costco, and the wood is treated with God knows what, and it comes from China, sorry, but like it's not a high quality product. It was a good, cheap sauna for whatever." I personally did a ton of research on what I wanted when I purchased a sauna. Remember, people, if you are sweating and you're heating things up, you want to make sure that the environment that you're sweating in and trying to detoxify in is clean. So you
Hmm.
mentioned EMFs, which is really important. What about like, toxins? I think yours is made from basswood, which is a very low allergenic wood, right? Because, you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of things to consider. Can we run through that, Brian?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately, Sandy, the most important thing is to actually do sauna. So if you don't have any access to anything, you can actually turn the water in your bathtub as hot as possible and get in there. And you can get
Hmm,
a mild sauna effect by being in that hot water.
true.
But yes, once we start looking at it, we're like, wow,
Mm,
I like sauna. I appreciate the benefits. I want to do the best sauna I can. I want to have the best experience. You do start to consider certain things. Number one, having the most efficient use of your time. As I explained earlier, using near infrared light means no preheating and less time in the sauna for the same sweat outcome and the same body temp increase. And then the therapeutic benefit of using near infrared light. So a better therapy and a more efficient, quicker sauna session comes from the approach that we do, the incandescent light based approach, the near infrared light based approach. But those aren't the only concerns. Those are my number one concerns because I have no time for it. It seems like for anything. I'm so busy all the time. But yeah, in the beginning, I was like, well, there's certain people who are very sensitive
mhm.
to we're all sensitive to petrochemicals. We don't want to be consuming, soaking up off gassing of chemicals that are either in the air or on surfaces or on in plastics and stuff. But it turns out there are some people who are immune compromised or just ill or have some health concern that's making them compromised or weak in some fashion, and they're highly sensitive and allergic to even natural things like the terpenes, the oils in wood.
Mm.
So there's certain people who are allergic to cedar, which is a beautiful
Yes.
smelling wood, and it's a fine wood to use to make saunas with, and some people can't handle that.
Yeah.
and and I don't want to leave them out of the sauna experience. We wanted to be considerate of that and give them a vehicle to do sauna as well. So we eventually looked to basswood, which we use nowadays, which has the lowest wood oil content of pretty much any wood out there. It's kind of a troublesome wood to work with, honestly. It's hard to manufacture with. It's a little bit soft and finicky. But we've developed a nice production process that has been iterated on so many times now to make it really nice and make it work. So all of our wood components are just untreated basswood. The panels and the sauna frame pulls and our sauna stool that we handcraft. It's all using this one type of wood, which is just the most hypoallergenic wood. And then throughout the rest of the product, the same principle applies. Like all of the cotton we use is all certified organic cotton that's washed. So it's all machine washable, but all certified organic cotton. The bamboo is organic bamboo. It's untreated. That's in the floor. The floor mat is made of bamboo. Even our special EMF shielding fabric that we use for our Faraday system is a certified organic silver cotton blend. So the cotton in there is organic, and really everybody, if you're, it's unfortunate, but most of the body's use of, or excuse me, most of the world's use of Roundup is for conventional cotton growing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, and organic cotton is more expensive, whether it's clothing or any other, and it's not always easy to find, but we don't want to, SaunaSpace and I personally don't want to support that industry because it's just really toxic
Yeah.
for the world and the earth. So everything we do is certified organic in terms of the cotton and the cloth, and the wood is all basswood, and then all of our hardware is all stainless steel, and it's not like painted or anything like that. Even our bulbs are just stained glass. They're mouth blown, hand rolled, handmade glass, but there's no coatings on the outside. And all of that is to minimize any amount of off gassing. Wood and cotton, they off gas when you heat them up, but they're off gassing like little plant sugars and little oils. In the basswood is such a small amount of it, it's almost immeasurable. So eventually we've developed here at SaunaSpace an experience that's very hypoallergenic. And some people don't care about that, but there are some people for whom that's an essential
Yeah.
criteria. So we've dealt with that. And eventually EMFs came up. And this is something that I was aware of kind of in the beginning, but I eventually met a guy named Brian Hoyer of Shielded Healing, who's a leading building biologist and EMF mitigation expert. He has a really awesome company. And I learned more about how to measure empirically electric field and magnetic field, and sort of got on this path of fully EMF shielding our products from electric field and magnetic field. And some of the design innovations were simple and some were actually kind of complicated and took a while to figure out. But nowadays, the SaunaSpace light panels are all fully electric field and magnetic field shielded. So the user doesn't experience any EMFs from the SaunaSpace light panels. And then we took that to the next level. We said, okay, well, we're not bringing any EMFs to the party, but how do we protect the sauna user from the environmental EMF that's already there, the cell phone, the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and the electricity that's everywhere in everybody's home, everywhere on Earth now. And we eventually developed our Faraday product. So our basic sauna has a grounding mat in it, and it protects you from the wired electricity and also provides a grounding effect. But the Faraday product has a liner which makes the whole sauna space a six-sided grounded Faraday cage. So the electric fields from the cell phone and stuff hit that material and they get grounded out. And so
Wow.
they don't influence the user. And that took us several years to develop, actually. And then eventually, the first iteration was really expensive. And I eventually started developing my own fabric, and then I wanted to be organic. And we still are the pretty much the only organic shielding fabric out there. But we also wanted to develop it to withstand and protect from these newer higher frequencies that are associated with 5G technology. So the 5G is basically just higher frequency data transmission that we have more and more of course, nowadays. So all of that took a lot of time to get right, from the fabric to the grounding systems and the rest. But here we are nowadays. We offer in the sauna industry and also in the light therapy industry, really one of the only fully EMF shielded products out there. And definitely in the sauna industry, we offer the only fully Faraday protected sauna experience. And that's a product that's optional that you can upgrade your sauna to, or you can buy it outright with our Faraday sauna, and it's an experience that it's almost hard to describe, Sandy. It's something where you have to feel it, but it feels very quiet to the senses. It really, just like standing in front of the light makes you feel like you're kind of in front of the sun.
Yeah.
Being in the Faraday sauna is like when you go back into nature, you feel
I
very,
love that.
it's just quiet. The
Yeah.
body is quiet, the mind is quiet. It's perfect for meditation or breath work or any kind of just mindful type of exercise that you want to do. And you're already in there sweating and doing your light therapy for the day. So
Beautiful.
why not? So yeah, that's kind of the development arc that got us to where we are now. We dealt with the EMS, we dealt with the hypoallergenic stuff, we dealt with design issues to make sure it's a safe, effective product that's easy to use. And overall, the product's very manageable and portable. It's,
Mhm.
only 65 pounds or so, and anyone can set it up on their own. And yet it's all natural materials. It's not like, some of these saunas are more like a plastic bag type of design, or they're the traditional cabinet style, which does look cool, but it's like 500 pounds, and it's really quite a hassle to set up and to plug
Sure.
in, and with the electrical, and the technology is not as reliable, frankly. Our product is built to last. It's handmade in the US. It's handcrafted, and there's nothing in it that wears out except the light bulb, and the light bulb is replaceable. It doesn't have any like complicated computer chip control modules and other things that, if you look at the traditional sauna industry, like the farm fruit sauna industry, there's just a lot of reliability issues in the build quality. That's not with every manufacturer. There's definitely some good ones out there, but overall, like you mentioned in the beginning, your average sauna, you would find that's a farm fruit sauna at a Costco. It's like, it's a questionable reliability over time, and the sauna is something you want to be there for the whole family to use for years and years, for
Yes,
many years to come.
absolutely. So we talked about how the light penetrates the near infrared and the healing. The one thing we have to touch on is pain, because does the near infrared help with pain? Like, let's say you go and work out.
Pain, you said? Yeah,
Pain.
like pain.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
you know how people are buying, there's so many different types of these red lights now. You could
Mhm.
buy one for an elbow, you could buy one for a knee, and they're all LED red light therapy. It's not the same, is it?
Well,
For
it's
pain management,
so
I'm speaking specifically.
so yeah, if we talk about reducing pain,
Yeah.
photobiomodulation is quite effective for that. So sauna, by the way, so heating the tissue up, and then using near infrared and red light wavelengths to
Yeah.
stimulate inflammation reduction. So inflammatory mediators are produced when you use red and near infrared light, and that's probably the quickest. That's where you get the quickest pain relief, I would say. And if you're talking about like osteoarthritic pain, muscle pain, joint
Muscle
pain,
pain from working out, things like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Um, the what's confusing to people is they think red light and near infrared light is the same. It does the same effect. It promotes the same effect in the tissue. The difference is tissue penetration. So if we have a red light therapy product that's LED based, it's not really treating anything that's below the skin. It's not getting in very deep. You can buy LED light therapy products that are near infrared based, where you turn it on and it looks like it's not on because those are
Yes.
wavelengths that the visible eye can't see. Those are definitely available in an LED version. If you're going to bother doing light therapy, you might as well be using near infrared. It's doing the same thing as red, but it's going in deeper. So it's stimulating both the skin and the deeper tissues at the same time. So that's like, I think that's obvious. Once you explain it that way, it's like, well, why not just do near infrared for everything? And
Yeah.
if you're talking about stimulating the brain, which is protected by the thickest bone tissue in your body, which is your skull, you need to use near infrared light. Red light's not going into your brain at all. So that's understood well scientifically, but not as well with the public, I guess, at large. So maybe I don't know exactly, but it seems like the majority of the LED light therapy products are red light therapy. They're visible red light wavelengths, where if you use that on, a belt thing or an elbow pad or a cap, it's promoting definitely pain relief superficially at the skin level, on the top and the outside of the bone, maybe a little bit, but it's not like going in super deep. Our product, where it's primarily near infrared as opposed to red. There's some red, but mostly near infrared. This is going in deep. And so all of those wavelengths promote pain relief, but a lot of us have pain related or health concerns that are deeper than just the skin.
Yeah.
So they're all doing this. It's just there are some issues like LED technology when it's powered by electricity flickers, it pulses, and pulsed light can be aggravating to the eyes and to the tissues, just like the overhead lighting, the LED and the fluorescent lighting and the screens are powered by LEDs. They turn on and off like 120 times a second because they're pulsed light sources, and that stresses your nervous system. That's like a strobe light in front of your eyes. So we already know that people get technology fatigue. They work at the computers all day. They get migraines and they get stressed out, and it's damaging to us and our nervous system. So LED technology has sort of that issue. And then also when you have the pads, the LED, like you see those waistband pads, and
Yeah.
they're very common products, and they plug in. If they're not electrically shielded, then you're bringing a lot of voltage into your body from the excess electric fields that are leaking out, and you're kind of electrifying your body, and you're creating this artificial voltage, increased voltage in the body that stresses the body out. Just that's what EMFs do. They cause oxidative stress in the
Mm-hmm.
cells that's unnatural, and they stress us out, and they age us. Basically, the electric field stress. So when you're laying that on you, you're bringing these undesirable aspects into your therapeutic experience. Uh, in contrast, what we do is light that you're not touching. Whether it's the sauna panel in the SaunaSpace sauna, or our photon therapy light, it's a light that you aim towards your naked flesh or that's near you, but it's not on you. And even ours, even if you touch the board or you touch the stainless steel cage or the power cord, it's all electromagnetically shielded. So you're not experiencing any of the EMF that you would normally experience, that you are experiencing in pretty much all of these LED products. And I can't speak for all of them, but that the standard products and the low grade products, definitely that's an issue. So you're getting benefit from those products, but it's coming with some of these design issues that I would say limit the benefit to some degree.
Mm.
And and from and our technology and the way we design the product has removed these considerations from the product experience. So you maximize your benefit from it. You don't have to worry about that kind of, am I getting EMF stressed out? Is there pulsing light issues? And is this actually, stimulating me deeply? And yes, near infrared light penetrates 4 or 5 inches into the body. So when you're in a SaunaSpace sauna, you're naked in there and you're facing the lights. Uh, the light is immediately penetrating into your like liver and guts and into your brain. Even if you close your eyes, the light goes right into your eyes and right into your bone tissue.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's not like that's what you get from the sun. That's what you would
Yes.
normally get outside. It's the wavelength that matters here. It's the near infrared wavelength that does all the work in nature to heal and protect animals
Yeah.
and to keep
I
us
love it.
healthy.
Okay, one last question. I can't let you go without asking, because all my ladies out there who are concerned about aging and their skin, how good is this for wrinkles, for more aesthetic?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, when you have bad skin or you have skin that's, looks unhealthy, whether it's acne or blotchy or just complexion type issues, that's a sign of core toxicity. That's a sign that you need to clean things up on the inside of you. So first of all, yeah, our usually the first thing to improve that our customers report, and I was no different, is skin. Your skin starts to look more vital and more full and more clean and more balanced complexion, definitely over time. And part of that is the sauna, and that's cleansing and purifying the skin and cleansing and purifying the body. The body uses the skin to detox, right? And so you can have toxins that are coming out in your sweat and your skin that temporarily affect the look and feel of your skin. And some people get rashes, they get healing reactions. So they get rashes or red spots or other things. There's a whole world of healing reaction stories, and they're retracing reactions. In the addict world, they call them detox reactions.
Right.
But eventually you work through that and your skin absolutely starts looking and feeling better. But what's interesting particularly is the light therapy. So the sauna, we said, is reducing your risk of dying of all things. It's helping increase your lifespan. But the light therapy has a unique anti-aging effect directly on the cell. The light therapy is helping correct how the DNA is read, how the cell's blueprint is read for the cell to make its parts of itself. And when we do light therapy on the cell in the mitochondria, we see an effect of correcting that gene expression process, that blueprint reading process. And so we get a correction of the 3D state of the DNA and what's called an anti-aging process. So we're correcting gene transcription, we're anti-aging the cell. And people think about this usually like, oh, I want to anti-age my skin. I want my skin to look better. But
Yeah.
when we use near infrared light, it's not just the skin, we're anti-aging all of the cells of the body. So we see with light therapy and sauna in sort of separately, although definitely with overlapping benefit, we see improved cellular function, improved organ function, improved hormonal function, and which is communication across the whole body. We see improved cognitive function. So like improved recall and recall and like decision making and responsiveness, in terms of like not just athletic performance, but mental performance and professional settings and other settings. And basically your brain works better.
Mm.
And that's because we're not just correcting function, we're making the cell young again. That's what anti-aging is. And so, yes, you see that and you'll experience that, but not just in your skin,
Your whole
in I think
body.
your whole body and your brain, which I think is the most important thing. The brain controls all. I mean, we need to raise our frequency in our whole body and in our brain, and not just healing and purifying, but fixing the master controller that then allows you to thrive in so many things in your professional life, in your personal life, in your self-development.
Yes. I love it, Brian. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Where can we find you? And are you international? Are you all over? Do you sell throughout?
Yeah, absolutely. We ship worldwide. So we have free shipping
Nice.
in the United States and Canada, but we absolutely ship worldwide. Our products work worldwide. You just select the correct plug type for your country.
Okay.
We ship FedEx everywhere in the world. Been doing that for quite a while. And you can find all of that stuff on our website, sauna.space. We have a nice learn center on sauna.space where you can kind of see visually this light therapy, the spectrum of the sun, the spectrum of our lamp, how that stuff kind of works, the benefits. We have a research archive in the footer, or you can look up the research by topic if you want to kind of dive into the weeds. And then also on YouTube and Instagram, we have a lot of content that's educational and explaining a lot of the stuff like how the EMFs work, and we show you how we test the EMFs and test body voltage and all that. So on YouTube and Instagram, we're at SaunaSpace. And yeah, our website has everything else, sauna.space.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sandy. Appreciate you.
Okay, I hit stop. That was really good. I love the ethics